Welcome back, everybody, to Prime Your Midlife. Today, I've got the esteemed company of a world champion, motivational speaker, and a gentleman that has had his fair share of adversity. Steve Judge, welcome to the screen and my podcast room this morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Weather's nice, feeling fit, had a nice weekend. So yeah, all well and good, and cracking on with my work as well. So that's getting all organised. I was a bit disorganised a couple of weeks ago because I had my big birthday. So things went out the window, but now back on track. So all good. I'm really looking forward to having a nice chat with you, Chris.
Well, we have many things that are in common by way of mindset on life and also triathlon, but I don't think our journeys are anywhere the same. Can you take me back to a time when you used to just love to run? I got that from reading your book. Don't lean on your excuses, by the way, a fantastically brilliant book and very transparent and very honest. Can you take the audience back to that time when you just used to love to run and why that was so important to you?
As a kid, just as a kid, I was born down in Hertfordshire, Kings Langley. I moved up to Doncaster, Bawtry, just outside, and we had a house, and out the back of the house were fields, and we had a little dog, Jack Russell dog, and I used to go out running. I was probably 10 years old, upwards, and I used to run. I don't know how often. I didn't make a note of it, but maybe every other day or maybe every day, just running through the fields with my dog. Even though she was a small Jack Russell, she was very fast, so I was always racing her. She always won, but as I got older, I think my runs got further. I started doing a loop around the fields and the farms and then back along the roads, not always with the dog now. Probably taking it a bit more seriously, timing myself, recording. And what I used to love doing was recording not only how far I'd run, but the time it took me and the miles per hour and working out what my average mile was. And I remember writing down some comments at the end saying, really good run, great weather, really pushed it at the end. And then some kind of a comment like, beat that, Steve, like laying down the gauntlet for me. Next time I found that sheet of paper going out for a run, I'd looked at, oh, beat that, Steve. Like, yeah, I will beat that, Steve. So there's that competition going on with myself. And I think that was something through and through that I carried on with me all the time and still do now, of being the best that I can be. Not comparing myself so much as to other people, because everybody's different, like you've just explained. We've got different journeys, different people, different situations, different everything. But with myself, I think I can, lay down the challenge, and I like that. And that took me through into young adult years, still running, still doing events now, fun runs, 10K runs. I really like doing those. And just doing it still for fun, bit of competition, but not winning the race or anything. It's all about me and my watch. So that's what I really loved. I love those times.
All right. Well, I set the scene on purpose there for the audience to help them understand. You clearly demonstrated your passion and your fondness of running, and even now it's still a big part of that. But it would be remiss of me to ask anybody not to continue listening without you enabling them to understand why still being able to run with freedom is so important. Take us back to September when that tragic accident happened for you. What was that, and how did it happen?
So yeah, 2002, driving home from a friend's house, nobody else on the road, nobody else in the car. It was a rainy day, there's water on the road. My car skidded, lost control, just an accident. And it veered off the road, it crashed into a pole, bent the car in half, and crushed both of my legs. So everybody came to save me. It was a near fatal accident. So it was bad. So the paramedics, the police, the ambulance, the fire brigade, they arrived, they cut the car apart. It took them about an hour and a half to do that. They dragged me out and, took me out of the car along with what was left of my legs. And they mercy dashed me to the nearest hospital. There they saved my life, first of all, and secondly, they saved my legs or whatever they could do with them. And what that resulted in was, when I woke up looking down at my legs, I was in a bad state. My left leg had been wrenched apart at the knee, and my right leg had been partially amputated. and I was given the information that I may never walk again. And at that moment, I wasn't thinking about, running or anything like that. I was just thinking about survival. But that's what I had to do. And I think it goes back to the basics of what you need to do, and just eating food, getting the energy and things like that, so that I could get on to the next day and the next day, was really vital for me. But then I guess that's where I started setting goals. From that point onwards, different goals, survival goals. How much food can I consume? How many mouths, how much do I have to chew? What physio do I have to do, upper body or lower body? And then slowly moving forward through the rehabilitation phase of having to grow my leg back. My right leg had been, like I said, partially amputated, which meant it was 4 inches shorter than it used to be. Had a big metal cage wrapped around it, and it was my responsibility to twist the nuts and bolts on that cage to slowly lengthen that cage out millimeter by millimeter, to get it to the right length. I was not in hospital at this point. I'd been, I was out, but this took months, if not a year, to do all of that, to grow my leg back, to get the bone to grow back, to do the physio on my left leg, to learn how to stand again, learn how to walk again. Those were my goals. So to go from being fit and healthy and running and having that as a passion, to being stuck in a hospital bed, stuck in a wheelchair, eventually moving on to crutches. Yay. That was progress. But for me, it was so frustrating. I was so slow on those crutches. And every single step, I was impatient. And I always say there's nothing wrong with impatience as long as you use it. So I was impatient. I was almost angry. Again, nothing wrong with anger as long as you use that anger in a good way. So I was in hospital bed. I didn't want to be there. I want to get into the wheelchair. As soon as I got given a wheelchair, it's like a Medal of Honor. Well done. Here's the wheelchair. I was like, great. I don't want this wheelchair. I want those crutches. That was my goal. When I got into 2 crutches, I just wanted one. When I was on 1 crutch, I wanted to throw it away and walk without the crutch. And eventually I did it. Not as fast as I thought I would, not in months, but years. And that was hard, but that's what drove me forward. Having the end in sight, in mind, having a vision, a golden vision of what I wanted to achieve and working towards that. Running, no, that was out the window. That was deleted. I found it easier just to say, I will never run again. Let's move on. Let's think about what I can do rather than what I can't do. Let's do the walking thing, maybe the swimming, maybe even get on a bike. Focus on what I can do and set those goals. But yeah, a massive drastic change.
Well, you talk about that moment, 3 years, I think, wasn't it, of rehabilitation, quickly. But when you read the depths of despair, setbacks and challenge that you had to go through, the thing that struck me about reading it was your mindset, even to the fact that you got into the ambulance and you were greeted by 2 Steves. Well, that's a lucky omen, the fact that both of them are called Steve. But then also the surgeon, he said, this person's got fight, this person's got gumption to want to fix himself. Were you aware of that inner steel that you wanted to project to others, or is that just something that is naturally within Steve?
Well, it's a good question. I think it's naturally within me, and I don't get it because I think anybody should have it. When it comes to health, when it comes to survival, when it comes to being in hospital, and this is what you've got to do to get better. Okay, I'll do that then. That's what I think is just a natural thing. And I can't quite understand people that don't do that. They've got surgeons, they've got doctors, physios, nurses telling them what they've got to do. And for them to go, yeah, but, it's a bit painful doing that, or I don't really want to do that. They're trying to help you. They're trying to help you to stand and walk and get better and survive and get out of the hospital and live a life back to how maybe it was, or, as good as you can get. And for some people not to do that, I don't fully understand. So I was just very compliant, and I just said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And I was the patient that was always asking, what more can I do? So when I was given physio, whether it's the upper body or lower body, I was saying, okay, and this will get me better. And they said, this will help you get better, Steve. I said, right. So I'm doing that. Is there anything else I can do? Well, yeah, okay, you could do this as well. Excellent. Anything else? Well, yeah, at one point I was doing 21 different physio exercises. And again, this is months down the road. But you know, that was my job almost. I woke up and I did physio, and then in the middle of the day I did physio again, and I hated it. Anybody who's done physio, it's the most boring, painful, monotonous thing ever. But that's what I needed to do to get better. And this reflects in lots of people in different situations. Not everybody's going through a horrific accident, and survival is the key. But they might be unhappy where they are at the moment. And I know we're digressing now, but they're unhappy where they are, and they don't like their job, for example. And somebody says, "Oh, well, maybe you should get a new one." And you could maybe apply for one and do a CV, and you could maybe network and contact. And they go, "Yeah, I don't really want to do that." And they're like, "But you just said you didn't like your job." And they go, "Yeah, I don't." "Well, what are you doing about it?" "Well, nothing." Or, "I don't like how I feel. I need to lose weight." "Are you on a diet?" "No." "Oh, okay. I want to get fitter." "What are you doing about it?" "Nothing." I just like, oh. So it blows my mind in a way. If you really want that, don't get me wrong. If it's just like maybe it's different. But if you really are passionate about getting a new job, getting fitter, getting healthier, having more money, making friends, really want that, then do something about it. But what I've learned through my research, my second book, Gold, is it's a 2080 situation, that only 20% of people are actually like me, who say, right, okay, let's focus on what I want to achieve. Let's go and do that. What do I need to do? And that's where I get confused, because the other 80% are going, yeah, I don't really, I'll focus on what I want to avoid. You know, I don't want to be poor, I don't want to be unhappy, don't want to be unhealthy. And because they focus on that, they achieve that. So I don't get that, because I want to help those 80% of people. So I am me because I am me, and I don't know where I've got that from, maybe my upbringing, the things I did before the accident, or how I've been. But I feel that what I've been through, I can help the 80% to become a 20%er if they want to be. It's all about them. If they've got that thing that they really want, I can really help them to achieve it. And that's what I'm about now. As a speaker, as a coach, doing my workshops, it's about helping those people achieve those things. And it might even take me back into hospital and meeting patients who are saying, "I hate physio, it's painful, I don't want to do it." And I go, "I know what you mean. However, here's the situation, and this is what I've been through." And I don't like telling people what to do. It's not my way of doing things. I don't tell people what to do. I just say, this is what I did, and this is what I've achieved, and the results are there. So getting that message across, hopefully, you know, rings through with them.
Well, a case in point is that you're also very able to be adaptive and innovative, and look at something and go, actually, I think there's a better way. The example being when you looked at your exercise bike and thought, hang on a minute, I'd like to get on that. And your physio said, well, that's physically impossible, Steve, because you're going to bang your cage and you're going to do yourself more damage. But the engineer in you said, I can. And what did you create? I think just enable us to understand how you did.
So I took myself out to the garage, and over the one day I made myself a big wooden pedal. So what that did was it was able to put my leg about 4 inches or 2 inches away from the bike. So so I could get onto the bike, strap my foot in with the cage on my leg, and then I could pedal, and the cage would not hit the bike. And yeah, and I made a wooden pedal with some Velcro straps on it and everything like that. It wasn't ingenious in that sense of a way. It wasn't massive complications, but it just enabled me to do something. When somebody tells me I can't do something, I don't like that. I don't like being told what I can and can't do. It's like a red rag to a bull, unless they explain why. If they say you can't do this because of this, I go, okay, that's a good point. But if they don't say that, or they don't look outside the box, then I'm always a bit like, I question it. I'm an open water swimmer, and so when I come across lakes and rivers, I think, oh, I'd love to swim there. And then there's a sign that says no swimming allowed, and I'm like, why? Why can you not swim here? I'm a good swimmer. I know what I'm doing. And so that it's almost like a rebellious side of me comes out in order for me to achieve the thing that I want to do. So when it goes back to physio, when the physio says you can't do that, I'm saying, why can't I do that? Well, your foot won't fit on the pedal. Well, you need a bigger pedal then, clearly, you know, that's how we need to do it. So let me make a pedal. And so, yeah, that's what I did with the exercise bike, and it worked. And I remember getting on the exercise bike, oh my gosh, and started pedaling. And the first time in the physio era, you know, I was actually getting out of breath in a good way. I was getting hot and sweaty. The endorphins were being released. The dopamine was being released, and I felt really good. And I remember getting out of breath for the first time since the accident in a good way. And I just thought that was a good session. I want to do that again. And that's what I did. You know, I probably did it once a day, but it slowly built me up bit by bit to get the blood circulating, if anything. You know, as well as all the physio, you just need that endorphin release and the blood circulating around your body. So yeah, it's all good stuff.
Well, let's also enable the listeners to understand your results. There's a whole page here of firsts, seconds, not just British, not just European, but double world champion, para triathlete, T3 to T4 to T3.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you by way of triumphs and also sacrifices?
So triumphs, do you know what? I think a lot of that was fueled with anger. There were tough times when I was going through my training. Training's difficult. That's a different story altogether. Getting up early and training when you don't really want to go training, swimming, cycling, run, similar to physio in a way. But this is what you've got to do. If you want to win, you want to be a British, European or world champion, you've got to do those things that you don't always want to do. But there were times when I would take myself back almost as I was doing the training, as in, why am I doing this? And I was still angry, I think, about the accident. And I'm not saying it was a bad thing. I wasn't having problems with that, but I was almost using that anger as in, I will show you. Speaking to the accident or the car being smashed up or the water on the road. I don't know the situation. I'll show you. You know, maybe even the surgeon saying I may never walk again. I will show you. You know, I will prove you wrong. And that fueled me. That was my to get the accolade was proving that all wrong. So yeah, I think that's what I use. The sacrifices, I guess there's always sacrifices in everything that you do. Some people say that if you're even doing something you really enjoy, then there's no sacrifices. I think, you just can't do everything in this life though. There's millions of things. So you've got to leave some things to one side, and sometimes there are sacrifices. When I was competing, these are busy times. I was still in full-time employment in health and safety. So 9 to 5 job, going to construction sites. I had a family with 2 kids. And I was now competing as an elite athlete, swimming, cycling, and running, squeezing in where I could. Early morning swimming, running at lunchtime, evenings on the bike. Not every single day. I'm not a Superman, but just squeezing it in, thinking about what I could do rather than what I couldn't do. And yeah, sometimes I had to miss out on going out with my mates, maybe not spending enough time with my wife, or not spending maximum time with my kids. I don't know. I would say that I got the balance pretty good, and I'd mix it up where I could. So I remember going out cycling with my kids, one on the back of my bike and dragging the other one on their bike. So I had 2 kids, and for me that was training. It wasn't quite the distance, but it's definitely the endurance that I was doing. But yeah, getting that balance right is always difficult, and I felt that I was getting it right. But my other people might not have thought that I was as dedicated in the situations from their point of view.
In your book, you talk about your father, and obviously we both share the same loss of the fact that we've lost our fathers to cancer. I got the impression throughout the book that he was a silent hero on your shoulder, either supporting you or pushing you, or you felt a compulsion to want to give tribute to what he had inspired you with. How much of that is true for you in terms of wanting to show him that you still had the old Steve in you by way of competition and success?
Yeah, I think there was something there, and it seems strange because why not my mum? My mum's amazing. She's still alive, and maybe the fact that she was actually seeing what I was doing, and we were talking and complimenting and everything, and she could get that. Whereas my father, who passed away before the accident and before my medals and everything, he didn't see that. So maybe that was more in my head. He was more in my head about thinking, or him inspiring me. And did he inspire me? Yes. He was very fit. Even, when he was getting to his 50s, he died at 59. He was still doing half marathons, still doing rugby as a referee. But he got cancer when he was, 51 years old. And he fought that. And I think that impressed me as well, because I went through my rehabilitation and got through that, and he did something similar. He went through cancer, and he got treatment, and he had the highs and the lows. He got better and he fought it off, and then it came back, and he fought it off, and then it came back, and all that being knocked down and carry on going. Now, I would say that he never gave in, and he never stopped fighting, but eventually it beat him. And for me, I didn't want to ever give in. I was never going to stop fighting, and I wasn't going to let it beat me. I wanted to come out with some success, I guess, and maybe reflecting what my father went through with that. I wanted to go further, I guess. I remember always trying to be positive and look on the optimistic side. So he passed away in 1998, and my accident was in 2002. So it's 4 years later. I was still recovering from his death. You know, I was okay by then. I think the first year or second year was really bad. The point is, when my accident happened, I said, well, at least my father never saw this really bad thing that's happened in my life. And I always say it changed my life, it didn't ruin my life, but it was pretty rough. I'll put it this way, you know, being in a wheelchair, getting both your legs crushed. My father never saw this, so that's a good thing. But then as time went on, through the rehabilitation, getting into para triathlon, becoming a British, European and world champion, then I'm thinking, oh no, now I wish my dad was here so he could have seen this. And maybe again, thinking that, having him inside my head, maybe he did see that within me in some kind of way, in some kind of spiritual way, or maybe I'm doing it for him so that I can pass that on. I don't know, but I'm sure there's definitely a reflection there of what he went through and what I went through and what I want to prove to him and to myself about going through tough times and coming out and making the most of it. And I think what I am now is I'm very much about the giving back. So I've achieved, and that's great. Well done, me. And I'm still achieving in different ways in my business, but I'm doing that by giving back to other people. I get a great success for me by seeing other people achieving. So that's what I want to do. And so maybe that's the legacy that I want to have in myself, but maybe something again from my father's side as well.
Just other sacrifices. Your employer at the time seemed to be having a lack of interest, support, involvement, but also I took a sense that you yourself hadn't necessarily come to your employer with a communication strategy to say, I've got this triathlon thing that's very important to me, even to the extreme that you were using your lunch times with intricate precision to be able to get changed, shower, train, and it was all sort of done in the mystique of the cubicle, so much so that I think you even managed to turn the lock and lock itself.
Yeah.
Where was that lack of transparency, communication? Was it something that you were shameful of, or was it just the environment of the employer was that it just wasn't okay to talk about?
It was, I think it was a bit of both to begin with. I didn't want to shout loud about it. I'm just going to go out for a run. I'd sneak out the door. I didn't want to shout loud and tell everybody. But as time went on, I wanted them to support me more in what I was doing. So I wanted to become more open. Social media was only just starting around those times. And so I was putting stuff on social media and talking about it more. But also, as an elite athlete, you know, there's so much to do. You're always thinking, what more can I do? And then one of the things you got to do is money. You got to get the ticket to go over to, you know, to compete, and you got to get the kit. So you do need money to back you up. So that comes to sponsorship. And I was hearing that some of my competitors, my colleagues, my athlete friends, they were getting sponsored by their employers. And I thought, well, that would be nice. Maybe I should ask my employers. So I took a deep breath and I wrote it all out, and I asked for an appointment, and I sat down. I said, this is what I'm doing. I would really like some support, and sponsorship can be in anything. It doesn't have to be in money. It could be in time off. You know, I just need some time off so I can train or so I can compete, because at the moment I'm using my family holiday time to go and compete, or maybe it's time off with no pay. Then I'll take the cut, but again, still want the time off. Or maybe it's some kind of, I don't know. I think I came up with a few ideas, and they took it on board, and they came back to me and they said no, quite bluntly, really. They said, we have equality in this company, so we've got to treat everybody equal, the same. I said, yeah, I get that. They said, well, if we give it to you, then we'd have to give it to other people as well. I'm like, okay, I understand that, but this is where I am and this is the situation. I'm not saying that I'm better than them. I'm just saying I've got a different situation from them. And maybe if you ask them if that was okay, maybe they'd be okay that you sponsored me. Because I'm not talking about I'm doing a local race down the road and I want a bit of sponsorship to enter. I'm talking about I'm entering the World Championships in China, Beijing. I'm wanting to bring the gold medal home for Great Britain. Can you help me? And they just said no. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I did this probably about 2 or 3 times, not nagging. But I got turned down. I said, fair enough. Carried on. Then other people heard about it, even the owner of the company at the Christmas do. He says, oh, we'll be able to sort something out for you. So I said, oh, great. This is great. The owner of the company. And so I did it all again and they took it to HR and they said, no, Steve, we said before, we've got equality. I went, oh, okay. Sorry, I thought because he said, we might be able to change things. And I might have tried it one more time just to be on the safe side. And they said, no, Steve. And I went, fine, it's fine. And so that's probably convinced me to do the cloak and dagger thing, to start training without telling them, sneaking in, well, not sneaking in, but, doing the swim before work, sneaking around to do the run. When I came in my bike, I was always like making sure that nobody could see it. And so they didn't ask any questions or anything. And it was hard. When you've got something so that you're so excited and passionate about, and you're representing your country and you've got gold medal and stuff like that, to then go into work and not mention anything about it at all is really difficult. I remember when I came back from, was it New Zealand? I think it was. I've been away for like 10 days. I'd flown over there, competed twice, got 2 gold medals, world champion in para triathlon, world champion in a aquathlon. And I come back, and the first thing that my boss said to my immediate boss said to me, who was one of the directors, was, Steve, have you got those reports? It wasn't even, did you have a nice holiday? Or how was the flight? Or how was the competition, Steve? Nothing like that. It was, have you got those reports? I remember clearly. And you just think, oh, this is tough. And that's the lack of support. And it clearly grinds on me, but I don't talk about it that much because I've kind of moved on.
Well, you have moved on, but just to reaffirm your commitment, you didn't compromise work. And even in fact, on one trip, you actually fitted in an inspection on your way home, having just competed in a world championship, I think.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was mad. It was a night shift. And so they needed someone to go on the night shift. And I thought, well, I'll be traveling from Heathrow back to Sheffield. I'll be coming up the M1. I could detour off, pop in to do the construction.
With a gold medal in your pocket.
Yeah, the gold medal was in my pocket, and I did the site audit, and then I got home and collapsed. And so when I was packing to go and compete, I think it was in Europe. As I was packing my race vest and my bike and my trainers, I was also packing my safety helmet and my high vis vest and my clipboard, thinking on the way back I need to do the work and stuff like that. But yeah, I pushed it. I did as much as I could. I've got no regrets. I made myself ill doing that because I was exhausted. So yeah, I don't know if I got it right or wrong, but I did the best that I could.
There's a beautiful picture in the book of your daughter in your arms as you've just crossed the line. And yeah. I have never achieved your greatness, but I know what it feels like when you go across the line, because it's the end of a journey that's been such a struggle. Can you just help the audience understand? Because they think you get that, you're mad, I don't know how you do it, you're crazy, and all those sort of jibes about why you do this. But can you try and explain why that is such an emotional moment in time when you clutch on to your nearest and dearest and you've just won?
It's like relief. I think the word relief is just there because everything's building up to that moment. You could say it's building up to the start line, and when the gun goes off, that's when everything is building up to that moment. Then it just goes a bit of a blur, and you just go into automatic pilot. You do the swim, the bike, and the run. But as you're coming down that final straight, because in triathlon you do the swim, you do the bike, and the bike is tough, especially when you've got some hills. And then you come off the bike, you go onto the run, you think, flipping heck, why am I doing this? This is madness. I am absolutely shattered. No, you got to get your legs going, and you get into a bit of a pace. And you think, okay, that's good. Then you come around the final corner, you see that finish line, and you go, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. I'm nearly done. You know, I can relax after this. All the hard work that I've been doing before this. So you think about, before this, you're thinking about what you're going to do after this. You're going to celebrate. Also, you're trying to focus, like, don't smile too much, keep breathing, keep going. You haven't got this yet. And so when you do finally cross that finish line, yes, then you've got the big green light to go, you can just relax. And it's a sense of relief that everything that you did before then worked, especially if you just won the gold or you come first. Even if you haven't, to be honest, you finished. And I think sometimes just finishing is just so important that people don't realize how important just finishing the race is with nothing going wrong. Oh my goodness, in triathlon, so many things can go wrong. It is so complicated, whether it's your goggles leaking, you're getting a puncture, your chain coming off, you're putting your helmet on back to front, you haven't got your race number, no race number, you get disqualified. There's so many things that could go wrong. All you want to do is finish. But finish and win maybe, but finish would be really good. So again, the word relief, when you finish that, you're just like, oh, I did it. And then there's somebody, your nearest and dearest is there. My son, I pick, obviously I met you talking about Susanna, so picking Susanna up and hugging her, that was so nice. Because they're like, yeah, go daddy, go daddy. But on my first power triathlon at Rother Valley in 2009, British Championships, and I crossed the finish line, I was in tears because of the relief. And my son was there, and I picked him up and I hugged him like a teddy bear. And it was just really emotional for me. I just needed to hug him. He was crying as well, and I don't know why he was crying, because he was a toddler, so he didn't have the emotion, but he probably just lost his lollipop or something. But the fact that he was crying and I was crying, it made it a very emotional thing. What's interesting, Chris, is that that was 2009. He was 3 years old. We could probably work it out. The fact is that this year I'm going to do that same triathlon at Rother Valley. My son is now 18 years old. He's going to do the triathlon as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not going to try and beat him or him beat me. I don't know. I'm just going to finish with a smile. That's my goal. And if I can get a lovely photo of me and him at the finish line, I will not be picking him up, or I might hug him if he allows me to. But just to get that photo would be really nice. And it's a special, special moment. Always is.
I'm not going to beat him. Really?
Well, put it this way, Chris. I'm training. I've been, I like to have a goal. I set this goal. I booked it like 6 months ago. I'm working towards. I've got 4 weeks left. I'm doing the swim, the bike, and the run. I'm not pushing myself. I'm just ticking it over. He's done nothing. He's not doing anything. And I just think, well, so, you get what you give. And if you're just going to rock up and do it, the thing is, he's 18. He's got so much energy. He'll be fine. I'm just like hoping to finish with a smile. We'll see. So let's do the facts, and people can follow this up. So it's on the 18th of June. Check out the results. Our swims are pretty much equal in the pool. But in open water, I think I'm faster because I've got a wetsuit, I've got buoyancy, and I've got more skill on the open water than he has, more experience. Transition, probably about similar. On the bike, he's amazing on the bike, but because he hasn't got a car, so he cycles everywhere. But on a mountain bike, he told me yesterday he might do the triathlon on a mountain bike. That's not a good move. Okay, that's up to him. I've tried to help him. It's up to him. I'm going to be on my road bike, not as fast as him, but it's a road bike, so could be quite equal. And on the run, I think I'm probably faster than him. And if I do get competitive, then I will be faster than him. So it could all come down to the run. We shall have to see. It could be quite close.
And are you still wrestling Taurus, or is it something else now?
I'm still what? Sorry,
still wrestling Taurus. Your Planet X bike, is that still your machine?
No, but yeah, my Taurus. Yeah, it got stolen. It's
all right. Move on. Can we just go back to?
I hate it. I can move on from things like that, but I know whoever stole it didn't know what they'd stolen. They probably sold it for 50 quid or some fags or something like that. It's worth like, not only was it worth £1,300, it was my special bike that I won the world championships on. I love that bike. I bonded with that bike, and it got stolen, and yeah, probably stuck in a garage somewhere. Anyway, let's move on.
You won that first race in the Rother Valley, and you automatically became British champion. But then you got something from the British Triathlon Association, or forgive me if I've got them wrong, where they said, actually, Steve, no, you're not going to go into our performance elite squad. But James, who came second to you, is. How did you face into that?
I was I was I was baffled. I was completely baffled. I was like, what the hell? I've become British champion because I not only won that race, I won two other races. So I officially became British champion. So the next year I thought, well, I'll be on the elite squad. And then they said I went down for categorization or not categorization, just to see if you could get on. And they time you and they have an interview with you. And one of the feedbacks from the interview was, you don't know enough about triathlon at the moment, and we're not too sure about your commitment, or something along those lines. Still got the letter, which sometimes I use in my workshops and presentations. And I was like, do you know what? You're absolutely right. I don't know enough about triathlon. I'm new to this. I need some help. And it'd be nice to get some help from the British Federation. That's the whole point. But they said no. They said, look, you can still represent Great Britain, but we can't support you, anything like that. And I was just like, I've mentioned it before in this chat. I got angry, and so I used that anger, and I was impatient, so I used that impatient, and I said, "I will show you." I didn't say it to the face; that'd be rude. I said it's in my head. I said, "I'll show you then. I'll show you how good I am going to be." And the next year, I got silver medal in the European Championships. I became British champion again for the second year running, and it wasn't the World Championships, but it was a world class event, competing with athletes from around the world, and I came in first. And I was just like, there you go. And the next year I got into the elite squad, and I was just like, yeah, I know I should have been on it the year before. And I have this inside me that, and it's not big headed, and I shouldn't even say the word because now you think I am big headed, but I'm not. So when it's something that you know that you're good at, when there's something that you're passionate about, and that you, in your heart of heart, you know you should be there, or you should have that job, or you should get that promotion, or you should have that partner, or whatever, then for crying out loud, do something about it and take some action and take some movement to work towards it. If that's what you feel that you should have, then go get it. And I was like that with becoming a speaker. I started out being a speaker, an amazing story, clearly, and a lot of confidence. So I stood up on stage and I did it, entered the competition, and I didn't get through. I was like, what? But I've got a good story and I've got the confidence. I said, no, Steve, there's a lot more to it than just that. There's so much skill in speaking. You've got to have stagecraft, you've got to have a script, you've got to have the highs and lows, you've got to interactive, you've got to have props, you've got to have a message. What's your message? I'm like, I don't know any of this stuff. But I knew that I deserved to be on the big stage. And so I took all this feedback on board and I did something about it. And I re-entered the competition. I got through to the final. And that sent me on my path, my journey to where I am now as a global speaker, getting on the big stages in front of the big audiences where I belong, because I've always known that that's where I belong. I've seen other speakers and think, I'm better than them in the nicest way possible. I should be where they are now. What do I need to do to get there? Okay, it's going to be a long journey. I need to do this. I need to get feedback on board. Okay, I've got to read more books. I've got to see more speakers. Got to get all this feedback on, and then I will deserve to be there. But I knew that I should be. So I worked towards it. I knew that I should be on the elite squad. So I worked towards it. I eventually knew that I should be world champion. I looked at all the other athletes around the world. I looked at their times and everything. I thought, I should be world champion. Right. What have I got to do to get there? So it sounds like, you're big headed, but it's about having that definite knowingness of where you should belong, where you belong, and what you need to do to get there, and then do it.
Well, it's the clarity of conviction, but also you were very willing and seeking help in that 4 stages of evaluation you talk about. And when that speaking gig came along and they said, you can go for another one, however, would you mind us giving you feedback? And you went, yeah, lay it on me. And then you built that. I'm interested about the transition, not the transition from bike to swim, or the transition from para-triathlete world medalist to speaking. And I was comparing your journey to Sir Bradley Wiggins, for example. I listened to him talking very openly with Fern Cotton on her Happy Place podcast. And he, gold medalist 5 times, but the depths of despair that he seems to have gone to. How did you transition in a mentally good way from this world of triathlon that was all consuming and everything to you to this speaker path?
So the one thing I wanted to do when I decided to retire from international competition, so still doing triathlons, keeping fit and healthy, one thing I really wanted to do was give back. I wanted to help people. again, talking about the 80-20, I was getting frustrated. I didn't even know about that ratio at that point. So that's even fueled my journey even more. But I realized that I had managed to achieve stuff that I wanted to do, and I wanted to pass that on to other people. And I found the best way of doing it is telling my story. And that turned me into a speaker almost. Obviously, just starting off at a few schools and things like that, then joining the Professional Speakers Association, entering the competition, and seeing if I get my skills right and become a professional speaker, I could do this properly. And if I do it properly, then I will inspire and motivate even more people. That's what I want to do. I will help more people. Great. That's what I want to do. So that gave me a lot of pleasure. So there's a positive thing in a way. So I don't really see much of a negative side of it. I think that the transition that goes from standing on the front, the start line of a power triathlon representing your country is very similar. The adrenaline that you get from that, and the nervousness and the excitement and the organization, the planning and all of this, that compares greatly to just about to walk on stage in front of thousands of people who are going to be staring at you, watching you, judging you while you tell your story, with hopefully nothing going wrong. Either nothing going wrong in the triathlon, nothing going wrong on stage, because you have to be prepared, you have to do rehearsals, you have to make sure that everything is going the right direction. That adrenaline rush, for some reason, I like. It's crazy because it is exhausting. It really is. And it's bizarre when I can come off the stage after 1 hour. Obviously, I'm still buzzing and smiling and chatting. But maybe like 5 hours later, oh my goodness, there's a massive doubt. It's like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm drained because I've emotionally, got everything out. As a speaker, I'm very physical as well. So I move around the stage a lot. But yeah, it's the highs and the lows. And I accept the lows for what they are. I deal with them, and then I guess I want another high. I want another speaking event. I want to go and inspire and help more people. And it's to help people. I keep going back to that word. Inspiring and motivating is great. That's lovely. It's one thing that you can do, or two things you can do. But how do you actually help people? And that takes me on to the next level where I am now. The helping people is my new book, Gold, which has got exercises that actually help people. The workshops that I run that actually help people. The modifications that I've made so I can actually deliver these exercises in a workshop from the stage, that actually, so when people, they will be inspired, they will be motivated, but when they leave the room, I've actually helped them to go and achieve the gold in their life. And that's what I really want to do. And that gives me an immense positive feedback. So that's what I work on, really.
No, it is a great book. And you're right. It has practical breadcrumbs that you can follow that lead you to the success quotient. Have you ever contemplated what path you would have been on? I'm sure you've been asked this question. I'll apologize if it's a boring one for you. What path would have been your clarion call had you not had that accident searching for the forgotten milk? By the way, do you keep a shopping list now and make sure that you always go shopping and don't forget the milk?
I get it all online, so I do get extra milk, and I put one milk always in the freezer. So and then you defrost it when you need it. So we've always got milk. So yeah, maybe why have I done that? I don't know. So I don't have to pop out and get milk. So yes, I do keep a shopping list, and it's definitely got milk on.
And have you reflected to think, I wonder what Steve would have been doing had that post not sideswiped your car?
I don't know. So my life was pretty good at the time. I would have carried on. I almost felt that I would have carried on plodding along, almost like a flatlining through life. There was nothing really exciting. I was fit and healthy and stuff, but nothing out of the ordinary. I had a job. I was just about to get married, so I would have carried on with that. I would have just lived my life. So do I regret what happened to me? Because I've got an amazing life now, with gold medals and trophies and global speaker and author. I don't know. Do I regret, or do I wish that the accident hadn't have happened, or had have happened? Or am I glad that the accident happened because of the life that I've got? I think the answer to that is no. I'm not glad that the accident happened, because if I think back to it, I nearly died. That's not a good thing. I had so much pain, and I put my family and my friends through so much traumatic events. It was horrible, and that lasted for 3 years. And to be honest, every day I have pain. people don't realize that, you know, if I stand, walk, if I do go out for a run, I have pain. I inflict pain on myself. I have to decide I'm going to go. Oh, so I'm going to go for a run today, and I know that afterwards I will have pain in my ankle. And I go, yeah, but you know, I like to run. It would be lovely to do exercise and not have pain afterwards. So I have pain every single day of my life, and I don't like that either. I think I don't know how my life would have gone. I don't know how it is now because of the accident. I wish the accident wouldn't have happened, because then the bad stuff wouldn't have happened. But I think what it comes down to, Chris, is I can't turn back time. And so things happen. The accident did happen, and you can't control the things that happen to you, but you can control how you react to what happens to you. And this is what I'm doing, and this is how I've done. I might have been a very successful person. If the accident hadn't happened, we will never know. But I'm going to make damn certain that I'm as successful as I can be in this life that I've got. And when I say success, I mean to be the best that I can be, to live my life with no regrets. I start my second book off with the lovely quote, "Hell on earth is," which I'll just go through. The quote is, hell on earth is getting to the end of your days and meeting the person that you could have become. And you either accept that quote or you reject it. And when I heard it, I said, I don't get it. I don't get that. So you're saying to me that some people plan that when they're on their deathbed, they're gonna think, oh no, I regret not spending time with my family more, not spending time with my friends more, being unhealthy, being in a job that I'm going to regret all of that. I think if you're planning that, that seems crazy that you're planning to have regrets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan to have no regrets. I'm going to be on my deathbed. I'm going to go, oh my gosh, what a rush. You know, I've done so much. I've done as much as I possibly can. I've blitzed life, and that's it. And then I ask myself, what do I have to do that? Now, you can't do everything in life. I get it. And at the end of the day, you know, there's only 24 hours in the day. But if I can do as much as I can in those 24 hours, in that 365 days, then that's what I want to do. So that when I meet the person that I could have been, the person that I could have been is the waste of space. The person I could have been is the person that watched Netflix, ate too much, had KFC every night. I love KFC, but I won't have it every night. They've done all those things that they shouldn't have really done, and they regret. I don't want to be that person. And it's not easy. It's a challenge, but so is life.
All right, a few final thoughts. You have a go-in around your neck.
Yes.
Being the person you are, you seem to have so much inner resolve and self-driven competence to why does this become such an important part of your everyday being?
So the story behind this, for the people that haven't read my book yet, so it's a go-in, and it's given to it by a Japanese traveller in Australia. I helped him to speak English. He gave me this as a gift, and go-in stands for good karma. But he said only if you're aware of your vision and you seize opportunities. So I said, okay, I get it. I eventually got it. And so I found this again in 2009, just before I did my first para triathlon. I thought I'm going to need some good karma, bit of good luck. So I put it around my neck to remind myself to always be aware of my vision and to seize opportunities. And so that's how I live my life. And this coin around my neck reminds me every day when I see it, what is my vision? It's part of my morning routine, just to sit down on the floor, close my eyes and think, what do I want? What I want to achieve, take me to a good place. And I'm just thinking about stuff, about running a workshop, standing on a big stage, helping people in scouting, whatever that is. And I usually do that until I smile and I think, oh, there you go. That's something that I've hit that's made me happy. Let's open my eyes and I think, right, what do I have to do today that will get me towards that? Not all today, that'd be great, but you know, step by step. And then I come over to my computer, I'm sat here, and now I'm looking for opportunities. I'm looking for opportunities that will take me there. Maybe it's work that I've got to do already. Maybe it's networking that I've got to do. Maybe it's a podcast that I've got to speak on. Maybe that's an opportunity that will take me towards my vision. Being aware of my vision and seizing opportunities. That's what this coin represents. And that's what I follow every single day. Not religiously, not as in I'm like being harsh on myself, but it just gives me some kind of a structure as to why am I doing what I'm doing. And I think that's a really nice place to be.
Without a doubt. I don't want to give too much of the book away, but another key thing I've never heard before was the principles of neg-med. Could you help people understand what that is and how that serves you, and why that's, you know, it's just such a different concept in terms of what we do around meditation. Can you help us understand that?
Yeah, so when I talk about as I say, that's why I usually sit on the floor just there with my back against. I do my visualization. I've tried meditation, doesn't always work. I used to do it, but I used to just fall asleep. Or so visualization is very similar. Thinking about all the positive stuff, and that's so important to focus on what you want to achieve rather than what you want to avoid. Open your eyes, go for that. However, we've got to be fair that sometimes there's things that make us a little bit nervous towards this big thing. So for me, as an elite athlete, I'd be thinking about the gold medal and cross to the finish line, but then I'd think, oh, what about if my goggles leak? What if I do get a puncture? What if I go wrong? What if I don't even get to the start line? What if I get injured? As a speaker, you know, I have the vision. You can imagine what that is, and the negative stuff comes in. What if your slides don't work? What if the speaker doesn't work? What if you don't get there on time? And these things make me a little bit nervous. And it's very much about accepting those. And so Neg Med is giving myself a session of just sitting down and doing a very similar thing, but thinking of all the negative things, negative meditation. So you think about, right, so what am I nervous about? I don't know where the place is. Where am I going to get parked? What if my slides don't work? All of this negative stuff. And then you open your eyes, you write that stuff down, and you sort that stuff out and you get rid of it. As an elite athlete, I used to take myself into the lake and I used to make my goggles leak and say to myself, well, what we're going to do now, Steve, what we're going to do? Because if this happens in a race, we've got to sort this stuff out. On the bike, sometimes I wouldn't give myself a puncture. That'd be crazy. But I take my chain off. How quickly can I get my chain back on my bike so that when it happens in a race, I know what's going on. I know what to do. As a speaker, if my slides don't work, it's fine. I can do the whole thing without slides. I've done it before. There was a power cut. I've got this sorted. What about getting to the place on time? Okay, well, let's Google Earth it. Let's find out where the parking is. Let's book the parking. I tell you what, let's even get there the day before. That will relax me. That will make me feel better. So negative meditation is thinking about all the negative stuff, getting it all sorted out, and then you can go back to thinking about all the good stuff, all the positive stuff, because that's where the magic happens.
I like it. And it goes against the grain sometimes that people are saying, oh, think positive, it's not going to happen, put it behind you. It's likely that it will. And then if it does, at least you now got the thought process or the tools to be able to deal with it. And if it is really bad, well, you've already prepared for the worst that could happen, and therefore lean into it and get it done. I'd like you just to consider, as we wrap up, maybe 3 key takeaways that you would like to leave the audience with. But whilst you do that, I just want to show everybody this picture. And for those that are listening, it's a picture that Steve drew, and it is Steve crossing the line with the crowd, and it says across the top of the banner, World Championships. And I think it's a great demonstration of Steve's ability to not just show his competency by way of effort, but also some of the techniques that he uses on a day-to-day basis that has allowed him to go from world champion to global speaker. And anybody that wants to test the mettle of whether or not somebody should be the right person to engage with, I implore you to read the book, go onto one of his YouTubes, and just dig deep on what he's been up to. There's a great quote also you talk about with Martin Luther King. Maybe you can help us if you remember it.
If you can't
run, then
that was it. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. Well, whatever you do, just keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
Got them there. It's very much about what can you do? What can you do? And it's amazing. I don't even know if that's a quote. You know, think about what you can do rather than what you can't do. But when I say it on the stage, people go, oh, that's really good. I'm going to write that one down. Think about what you can do rather than what you can't do. It's not genius. I think disabled athletes get it a lot because there's certain things they can't do. So they think, well, how can I work around it? But when you tell it to able-bodied people, they think, I've never really thought about that. And some people say, like, I want to lose weight, but I don't like running. I think, well, don't go running. Do something else. Do trampolining. Do basketball. There's thousands of things out there. Think about what you really want to do and do that stuff.
Yeah, I've deliberately tried not to focus on the things that maybe people saddle themselves with a disability, because I think you're still able to do many things, and I think you're a great demonstration of the fact that it's about what you can still do as opposed to what you can't.
Yeah,
not allowing that to suppress any desire that we want to go forward and be the best human we can. what would be your 3 fundamentals for achieving that mission of being the best version you can on a daily basis?
Oh, there's so many. It's like coming up with three quotes or something. So I think the first one is I probably got this from going to Speaker Factor, the speaker competition, and I didn't get through, but I took on the feedback and eventually I got through to the final. So there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. That's the first one. Be open to it. I know it's hard sometimes, but take it as feedback. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. The second one has got to be don't lean on your excuses. Okay, it's a quote that I use. It's my quote. It's the title of my book. Don't lean on your excuses. There's excuses out there all the time. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. It's fine. But if you do want to do it, just don't come up with loads of excuses. It's it's annoying in a way. So turn your excuses into challenges. The last one, I reckon I'm just going to say, just be the best that you can be. Be the best that you can be. What that means is don't compare yourself to other people, to your friends, your colleagues, to family, to celebrities. Everybody's different. And you got to think about what you can do rather than what you can't do. Being the best that you can be. Only you can answer that. You get to the end of your day, ask yourself, has it been a good day? Yeah, have I been the best that I can be? Or did you have a bit too many glasses of wine? Did you watch too much Netflix? Did you do some stuff? Okay, it's not the end of the world. Maybe tomorrow, be better. Because it's lovely when you do get to the end of the day, you go, oh my gosh, what a day. That was amazing. I was totally the best that I could be. I'm going to sleep so well and I want to do it again tomorrow. So have that feeling, be the best that you can be.
And it was also your father's guiding principles to you. And it's lovely that you're now passing that generationally down and also cascading it out there for more people. So thank you.
Yeah.
Steve-judge.co.uk is where you can find him. On LinkedIn, you'll find the same. If you've enjoyed this, you'll enjoy the book. And I'm sure if you book him to speak, or when you book him to speak, you'll enjoy that even more. Steve Judge, I do believe you are an absolutely first-class example of my mantra, which is we have one life. So love life, living life. Thank you.
Thank you.